Cool, amazing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Talk number 26. My name is Colson, and I'm your host today for Community Talk. We have an exciting agenda today filled with some amazing community updates and some wonderful segments. We have a lot of segments today with topics including, among others, acid chains, India blockchain tour, the graph in Nigeria, and the new Playgrounds API. Before we get started with these segments, I would like to share some community updates with you. The first community update will be done by Andrea. So, Andrea, take it away.
Hello everyone, I would please like to quickly share my screen. Just a second. I'm not sure why I can't, but I will try again. Oh yeah, okay, perfect. See this now. So the first thing is going to be about the first event that Graph Advocates DAO is sponsoring. I think you will soon see my screen too. It's called Startathon. It's a hackathon happening in India. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, because I was hearing some noises. I'm not sure why this is not the first. Yeah. So, Startathon is a hackathon happening in India. It's currently happening. It has more than 800 applicants that submitted their application for review, and currently more than 500 hackers have been accepted and are working on their project. There are two tracks for this hackathon, one for Web 2 and one for Web 3. And around 40% of the participants are doing Web 3 projects. It's very nice to see that the community in India is growing. And also, Marcus has been hosting a hackathon, a workshop for this hackathon. And it had more than 80 participants. And I know he was very happy about the result and how it went and about the questions he received from the audience. And in terms of prizes, we will be offering prizes for best new subgraphs and for best use of existing subgraphs. You can see the prizes on the screen. And yeah, let's see how it goes. And again, I'm very happy that we are growing the graph community in India because we have a lot of advocates there too. And I hope we will have more people join the graph family in the future. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Andrea. And we will have a lot more to talk about the graph in India a little bit later on. We will have Shruti join us to talk about that. But for now, let's continue with the community updates. We would like to share light on one of the series that has been running in the Graph Advocates DAO server. It's run by Alex from Node, and he has been running his Code Along with Alex series for over 50 editions, teaching others how to code. All of these classes were recorded and are available on his YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about Rust, Kubernetes, or Julia, make sure you check out Alex's videos. They are really cool. So make sure to check those out. There are a lot of new episodes, the GRTIQ podcast. We have episode 126 with Mabel Jian, Chief Revenue Officer at Find Satoshi Lab. We had a special release on Substreams powered subgraphs by Alex, from the co-founder and CTO at Streaming Fast. We had 127 with Alex Shaw, the new CEO at Tenderize. And we had number 128 with Jaime Herrero from Mazzari. We also had a lot of new updates from the monthly core devs updates on the forum for August, and they've been released by Geo, Semiotic, The Guild, GraphOps, Mazzari, and Finex. So you can check those out on the forum. After these community updates, I would like to introduce our first speaker, and we're going to hear from Pierre from Acid Chains, the team that won the first prize for building the best new subgraph at ETH Global Paris. Pierre, what can you tell us about Acid Chains?
Hey, Acid Chain is basically a protocol that enables users to send transaction with very low fees on Ethereum mainnet. and to put them on the what we call a 1.5 layer to send them in a new rollup. I'll let are you talking to me? Present it if you.
Okay, hi, how are you, everyone? I'm part of Acid Chains also team, and yes, I will present the project to all of you. Just 1 second, okay. Please confirm you are seeing the my screen now.
Yep, we can see it.
Excellent. I will go. So ACID chains, it's a chain protocol. It's built to anyone that can build as per se 1.5 layers. It's not layer 2s, it's not layer 1. It's new layers that are using Ethereum mempool, the mainnet mempool, to as the own mempool of the protocol. So we are pushing Ethereum scalability to the maximum while providing faster transactions processing. So what is more or less what we are building? Uh, let's see the slides goes. 1 second. This is for gaming, DAOs, token swap, interoperability, DeFi. So which was the problem? We found a problem in the Eat Paris hackathon that was that the Ethereum scalability issue limits transaction speeds and volume, leading to network congestion and high gas fees. So why not to push the boundaries of Ethereum through the existing nodes themselves? So right now, the scenario that we have with Ethereum mainnet and layer 1 is that the transactions are quite slow to be validated, and well, we are trying to go with off-chain transaction processing and creation of these layers 1.5 within existing nodes. This is important because we don't need to change the protocol, and neither we need to change the infrastructure. So right now we have low speed transactions, lot of congestion, and high gas price. The users go to the mempool. The mempool is very fast, but the transactions get confirmed very slow. What happened with acid chains? Now we have super speed, no congestion, and low gas. The users is still using the mainnet mempool, but now a new layer happens in the same nodes. So how this is made? Well, we have a standard in nodes that can be get, read, never mind any node. We have the mempool that the users are using normally with MetaMask. They are sending the transactions, but these transactions are special because are transactions that are without the gas needed to be processed. It's the lowest gas that can be configured. So once we are using this protocol, these meta protocols, I mean, because this solution is for anyone making their own meta protocols to use Ethereum mainnet, they will start using a transaction, and then we replace it with another transaction with the same nodes, and go on and go on. And the gas, after about 10 to 40 transactions, depends on the usage of the protocol, they will need one to be processed. What is this? Okay, the ACID virtual machine is catching all this. Now we are emulating this with Cartesian hard hat, but this should be our own node, very well modified. And the substreams, you can see there the SS are taking the checkpoints. What is a checkpoint? A checkpoint is a confirmation that something happened in layer 1. This is one every 40 transactions more or less, and this serves us or our layer 1.5 that is being built using the same mempool as a confirmation point that something happened. And we are capturing these checkpoints with substreams. And this is how we propose that these meta protocols should work. So Pierre will present the substream that we are using to make this valid. It's like our rollup that is made in the opposite way, using the mempool for the transactions, and then we have our layer 1.5 in our nodes for storing what is happening, and the checkpoints in layer 1 every time a transaction is confirmed. So main difference with EVM and ACID VM, Ethereum virtual machine and the ACID virtual machine, the Ethereum virtual machine is limited, low numbers of transactions per second. We have high numbers of transactions per second, high gas, substantials, and higher on demand. cheap gas processed off chains, gas fees at minimals, it's 0 to 4 cents for each transaction. Limited flexibility, smart contracts mainly restrict solidity. In ACID virtual machine, you can code in almost any language because you are using a computer, you are using a node. So this is off chain. If it's Windows, Linux, Mac, you can build in anything that the computer gives to you. And reducing interoperability requires complex resolution to cross chains. In ACID virtual machine, we have improved interoperability, facilitated seamless and cross-chain transactions, and the conventional use allow for creation of traditional dApps. And ACID virtual machine is innovation friendly because allows previously impossible applications on Ethereum. And finally, well, we are envisioning the future with this, and I will let Pierre to continue with the explanation of the substreams. It's important to note that everything on ACID virtual machines works using Ethereum mainnet mempool. This is why we are pushing the boundaries and giving scalability to mainnet.
Thank you, Herman. So, as you said, sorry, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So as you said, we're using the graph and more precisely substream, so that we can get each transaction that we send to the mempool but are actually executed. So what we're indexing is that we're having a hash. So basically the data that we're sending in a transaction, and if the transaction pass on the layer 1, we want to index it so that we can treat it with our nodes. So let's go through an example. I'm going to send a transaction on the right. So it's a basic transaction, but I had hello world in my transaction data. So just send this message, this transaction. Look, it's executed in this block. And I'm gonna run the substream. And the goal is to get this transaction so that we can add it. So as you can see, it's really fast. And I just got this transaction. So what we did is it's a substream powered subgraph. So at the end, we deployed it on a hosted service with the graph. I think it's over there. So we have it here, and this way we can efficiently index our data, and it was a great experience to use the graph for us.
Great. Thank you so much for that explanation.
Yeah.
Really good quality means voice. Nicely done.
Thanks.
Cool. Amazing. For our second segment, I'm going to invite Taki from Playgrounds. They've just released their Playgrounds API, and Taki will give us a demo on how it streamlines querying decentralized subgraphs. So, Taki, take it away.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Tachi. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Playgrounds Analytics. Thanks for having me on here to talk about our newest service, Playgrounds API. Just a little bit of a quick overview on who we are. We are a data solutions company that provides easy and reliable tools for anyone to do blockchain data analytics with their subgraphs. And you might have noticed that we have some tools out there. For example, a popular one that we've released is called Subgrounds, which is our Python tool that makes it super easy to leverage your subgraphs, whether it's a hosted subgraph or a decentralized subgraph, for data analytics using Python. So today, we take another step forward in fulfilling our mission in making analytics easy with subgraphs via the Playgrounds API. And we truly believe the Playgrounds API is an amazing alternative to interfacing with your decentralized subgraphs and making it easy to query it without some of the friction that you normally would when trying to leverage your decentralized subgraphs today. So taking a step back, what are the two main methods available today when anyone wants to leverage their decentralized subgraphs? That is, subgraphs that are on a decentralized network and require some GRTs to query. The first option, of course, is getting your traditional wallet, loading up with GRT, whether it's from a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange, and loading up into the billing contract, authorizing it, transferring it, and then generating the API key that you normally would use to then query your desired subgraph. Recently, the graph also released another alternative, which is leveraging the banks service, which allows you to uh, purchase those GRTs using a credit card and then load it into your billing contract and generate your API key as well. While these two solutions are amazing and definitely cater to different user groups, there's still a few friction points that are associated with, especially the first option when it comes to having your GRT wallet or a traditional wallet and handling GRTs as well. The Playground's API essentially attempts to solve some of these frictions, making the user experience, especially for data analysts like us, a lot more smoother and streamlined. Using the Playground's API service, you simply have to log in to the Playground's app. You pick a subscription plan that works well for you. We have multiple plans. We have the free or basic, which allows you to have 5,000 requests to 5,000 queries on your subgraphs. And then we have some of the more larger query limits as well. And then from there, you generate your Playground's API key, which allows you to then start querying your decentralized subgraphs on the fly. Our UX and the entire platform itself is designed so it's easy to get started. You really just have to log in and generate a key and get started. You don't need a wallet, a traditional wallet, and you don't need GRTs to work with your decentralized subgraphs. And you can use the Playgrounds API with any familiar tools that you're already used to for your data analytics work. We think that this new alternative or this new option would further enhance the user experience when trying to use your subgraphs and bridge in a lot more users who are not too familiar with the technical hurdles or the technical steps required to interface with decentralized subgraphs today using the traditional methods. So, what are the key features of the Playgrounds API? The first one, of course, is we've built a SaaS-like experience on top of the entire network, meaning you simply just have to set and forget. You pick a plan, you get your API keys, and you never have to worry about how much GRTs you need for your queries if you bought enough GRTs for your account. You basically just have to pick a plan, and depending on what you select, you know that you will have the right number of queries available to you each month. The next thing that is a key feature is how easy it is to create and manage your API keys, as I was showing you in the demo. We've also made sure to have Subgrounds fully integrated with the Playgrounds API. So for those of you who are already users of Subgrounds or you're users of Python, can start using your Playgrounds API key immediately without much change in your workflow at all. We have some analytics built in as well, so you can track your usage and track how many queries you're making per month, and you can get more insight into your behavior or maybe your team's behavior when using the Playgrounds API key. And of course, it's because it's sort of like a RESTful like API. It means that you can use it in a lot of services and data platforms that are out there for your work. So these are the key features that are associated with the Playgrounds API. But I think it's best to give you a demonstration of how we can get started with the API and how you can get started with your data analytics work using Playgrounds. The first thing you would do is, you can either go to a website, and of course, everyone has a free account. But once you log in, you're presented with a very easy dashboard. And from there, you can get started by just generating an API key. In this case, I'll click a button. I have a new API key that's been created here. I can choose to rename it. So I just say edit. I'll call this my analytics key, finish. And now I can use this key to query any decentralized subgraphs that I'm interested in. I can copy it. I can check my usage by going to account. In there, I can see that for this month, all free users or free accounts have 5,000 queries. I've already made some queries this month already, but I can track how many queries I'm making per month, and I can upgrade my plan if I want more queries, or if I'm just satisfied with the free account. So let's go back to our dashboard. I've created a key. I'm just going to copy my key by clicking here. And of course, if you want to learn more, you can use our quick start guide, which shows you how you can use the API key with different language like Python or subgrounds, or just using it in your terminal. Or you have our docs where you can learn more about using the API. You have some examples on how you can get started. And you can visit our Discord, of course. All of that is available to you within the app. But let's get started with some code here. So I'll go ahead and copy my key, and I am going to go into VS Code. The first example I'm going to show is using the API key with Python, which is the more familiar or one of the most popular languages used by data analysts today. So we made sure that it's fully integrated with that. So using Playground's API with Python, you really just need two things. You need your subgraph ID or your subgraph deployment ID and your API key. So for this example, let's just go ahead and assume that we're interested in the Uniswap v3 subgraph created by Masari. Rather than copying the URL as usual, we just copy the subgraph ID, which is found here. So I'm just going to click on that. Go back to my notebook. This is a Jupyter notebook. And in here, I'm just going to replace the proxy URL with the subgraph ID. Let's go ahead and paste that there. And I'm going to go back because I just overrid my key, copy the key, and paste that where I have Playground's API key. Of course, you can find the examples in our docs. So if anyone is interested in using this, you can find tons of examples available on our docs as well. So now that I've created the structure, I have the URL, I have the subgraph ID, I have my API key. It's very easy to then proceed with querying any entity or field I'm interested in. I kind of created a template here with just protocols, which correlates with if you go to the subgraph explorer itself, if you were interested in protocols as well, you would just simply open the folder here. You find the entity you're interested in. In this case, we're interested in protocols. Let's see. Let's close this one. Yep. Open protocols, and then from there, I can just pick ID and names and whatever. In this case, for protocols, I'm interested in total pool count and name. Once you've selected the entity and you've written out the fields you're interested in, you can just go ahead and run that. It takes a few seconds, and there you go. I have the return data using the Playgrounds API key from the decentralized subgraph that tells me the total pool count for the Uniswap v3. Well, what if you want to do something a little bit more interesting? For example, maybe we are interested in some financial data. So let's go back here. We close out the protocols and we find financial daily snapshot. And I'm interested in just the first five, let's say the first 5 days or 5 rows of data. And let's say we just want the daily volume USD and the daily total revenue USD. So let's do that. So this is what it looks like in GraphQL. And I'm just going to go ahead and write what that would look like if you're using Python. I'll change my screen. And by the way, I hope my screen is legible. If it's not, I can zoom in. Are you guys able to see my screen clearly in the code?
Yes, it's good.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So in this example, I'm just going to replace here with the entities and fields I'm interested in. In this case, I'm interested in a financial daily snapshot, the first 5 rows, and I just say I want the daily volume and the daily revenue. Similar to what I did prior, I'm just going to copy the key that I generated in the app. It's going to come here, paste it here. It's the same subgraph ID, so I can just use it here as well. And then run the code. And there you go. You have your results returned to you as a JSON format. But what if you want to use the deployment ID? For example, you have a subgraph that is deployed on Arbitrum or some of the other decentralized networks out there. You can also use Playground's API to query those. So in this case, I could go back to Overview, and I can find the deployment ID right here. So by doing so, you can just copy that, go back to your environment, paste the deployment ID. Let's go back. I accidentally copied that twice. There we go. I have the same keys that I'm using for this demo. Copy, paste. And just to save time, I'll do the same here. It's the same deployment ID. Run the code. And you see it's the same result. So depending on if the subgraph is on mainnet, if it's on mainnet, you can go ahead and use the subgraph ID. But if it's on other networks like Arbitrum or some of the other networks supported by the graph, where there might be some naming conflicts with the subgraph, it's most likely better to just use the deployment ID so both are available to you. So what about subgrounds, our popular Python library that allows you to query subgraphs really easily and get it into a flat tables? Um, the API is fully integrated where you just have to drop in the API key as well in the header of your subgrounds. Let me go ahead and get that key again. Let's say copy. I can use either one of them. I'll just do the new one I created and paste my key here. And the same thing I did before. I just get the subgraph ID I'm interested in, paste the ID. And now I've instantiated subgrounds, the library, and I've said, hey, subgrounds, I would like you to use this API key for the queries that I'm about to make. And I'm interested in the Uniswap subgraph with the ID given here. So when I run that, I can then easily query my subgraph as you normally would if you're familiar with subgrounds. In this case, using subgrounds, I say, hey, load the subgraph with this URL with the ID I gave you, and then return the data as a data frame. For those of you who are not familiar with Python or Pandas, a data frame is essentially just a flat table like you would see in Excel or a spreadsheet. So when I run that, I get the same result, but as a table. In this case, I'm getting the ID and their symbols. Let's give it a second. Here we go. So now I have a flat table that I can then use to do whatever kind of analytics I'm interested in. Something else you can do if you want more, something more exotic. In this case, I'm just looking for some financials data. I have the cumulative volume, daily supply side revenue, and daily total revenue as well. So we've made using the decentralized subgraphs for data analytics so much more simple and so much more pleasurable to work with, eliminating all of the friction that a data analyst today would generally have to go through if he's using, just a traditional method of getting a wallet, buying GRTs, loading into a billing contract, and not having a full understanding on the query usage or the amount of GRTs they need. All of that is abstracted away. Just log in, create a Playgrounds API key, and start querying your data immediately. We think that this would definitely incentivize people to want to use your decentralized subgraphs over the hosted. You can use, I see your question on is 100 the limit? No, you are free to pick as many limit roles as you're interested in. Yeah, you can max it out. Another way that you can use the API, which I thought is really cool, is our recent integration with Flipside. Flipside has this really cool platform called Live Query that allows you to find all kinds of API services out there. In this case, you can have things like QuickNode, Helios, Chainbase, and because Playgrounds is part of this service that's provided in this ecosystem, it means that users in this particular ecosystem also have access to data on the Graph network. So we've kind of bridged these two communities together via the Playgrounds API, where people in this community can compose their data using their Graph data alongside with something like I don't know, ESPN data, whether there's some kind of correlation there, who knows? It's up to the gigabrains out there to find it. But the point is, because we're in this ecosystem, we have this new user group that can access their subgraph data for their data analytics. So how would they do this? Usually they'll just click Playgrounds, and there's an example that's provided for them. In this case, you can just copy that example, and we go to into the studio. I kind of place that there. And using the Playgrounds API key, which is set up in your account, you can then query your subgraph in this environment and get your return. Here it takes a little bit of time. Let's go ahead and run this. Boom. Same thing you get in your notebook. But if you want it as a table, Kind of wrote a little example here that allows you to get your data as a table. 1 second. In this case, it's basically the same thing. We just have some additional syntax there to rename the column and flatten it. When you run it, it queries a subgraph, flattens into a table, and you get a table within Live Query, which you can then mix with other API sources as well. In this case, you're interested in something from another network, or you're interested in ESPN data, like I said, or data from CoinGecko or DeFi Llama or whatever. You can mix your subgraph data with that as well. So we think that's really exciting for a lot of additional use cases for data analytics on the graph. Something I also find really cool is you'll be surprised to know that a lot of data analysts out there still rely heavily on Google Sheets for their data analytics work. So Playground's API also allows you to query your data and just dump it into a Google Sheets really easily. The way to do that for anyone who's interested, and I'll be posting a demonstration on our docs very soon, is you just go to extensions, create an app script, and from the app script, you basically just the same thing that we did previously. You find the subgraph ID of choice. In this case, I'll copy that, paste it in here. Oh, oops, there we go. And then I'm going to get my API key that I had earlier. Let's put that there. And really, this might look intimidating, but it's very simple. What's going on here is we're just creating a function that would run in our Google Sheets that would interface with the subgraph given the ID, then use our API key to query that subgraph, specifically the financial daily snapshots entity with the daily volume USD and the total revenue USD fields as well. Very similar to what we did in the Python example where I had the query constructed. And then from there, we just do a little bit of a cleanup, and we say, all right, let's change it into strings and just append to the cells on your Google Sheet. Very, very straightforward. Once you run this, it runs the queries the subgraph. And then once the execution is complete, we can go to our blank spreadsheet and we see the data there. Of course, this is a demonstration. You can clean this up as you want, put column names if you're interested in. But the point is, in just few steps, you can get from subgraph, decentralized subgraph, to any of your familiar work environments, whether it's VS Code, Jupyter Notebook, Live Query, Google Sheets, Power BI, Tableau. It's very much within your reach as a data analyst on the graph ecosystem. So that is Playground's API. I encourage everyone to create an account, create an API key, create something cool, stop by our Discord, and show us what you're building with data using your subgraphs and Playground's API key. We're always happy to help. We have a lot of bounties coming up very soon, competitions coming in soon. So we really love to see how our community here leverages the Playground's API key for your data analytics. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really cool. Thank you for answering the questions in the chat as well. I think Christina just shared with everyone a tweet of you guys where everybody can find all of the info that they need to get started. So I think that will work out perfect. All right. Up next, we have something really cool. We're going to hear from Paolo, who does a lot of really cool things at the Graph Foundation, at Graph Advocates DAO as well. But he started in Graphronauts, and the Graphronauts have made a really cool new guide about delegation. So I would like to pass the mic to Paolo to show us that guide.
Hi, thank you, Colson. Hi, everyone. So, yes, so basically a week ago, 5 days ago, we published this guide, so the delegation guide to, to summarize everything you need to know if you want to start your journey as delegator. We already published in the past also several tutorials, but mostly they were focusing on, just the steps to delegate. While in this case, in this article, we want to go let's say with the higher level, and go with some general information also on how to choose your indexer. So in our guide, so you will see basically, a lot of useful links and resources, like for example, the frequently asked question for graph delegators, how to choose an indexer. So you will find like a collection of plenty of useful articles. Also, of course, if for new buyers, if they don't know how to use a wallet, what is a Web3 wallet, how to start with MetaMask, how to secure your wallet. But then, so one of the most important part of this article is how to choose your indexer. Because most people, when they join Graphtronaut, so they're always asking, okay, what is my criteria to choose amongst all these indexers? Most of the people, choose for the higher APY, because of course, the way why we delegate our tokens, basically delegating our tokens, we give more GRT to our indexer, to the indexers, because indexers cannot only rely on their own self-stake, but they need to attract more delegators. And with our GRT, basically the indexer can index more subgraph or anyway allocate more GRT to subgraph to serve more queries. So basically we help indexers in return of our work. The way we put our GRT to work, we receive the rewards. And there is also the 28 days. So if you jump on an indexer and then we want to change our indexer, we need always to wait these 28 days. So a lot of people are asking to us, okay, what is a good criteria? So of course, APY, is important, but it's also very much variable. So for example, if we look here, we can see that in certain instant of time, we can see even, almost 40% APY. So you think, okay, I need to jump on this indexer, but what we see here can change even during the day, because so what I wanted to show you also how is actually work, this APY. So I want to show you, for example, okay, let's see, this is Graph Explorer with the indexers as today. So basically, we see the estimated APY that is quite the same, but sometimes, as we can see, can even jump like 20, 30%. So let's say, for example, if we look, this is our indexer, Graphronaut indexer. So for example, here we have allocation open, our current allocation to some subgraphs. So basically, each of the subgraphs is giving us a specific APY. So this is want to show you a tool that almost all the indexers use. So in this case, we see the subgraph we have allocated, and each subgraph, for example, has a specific APY. And what is happening? So when we want to choose which subgraph to serve, there is this dashboard that is showing the real-time the APY. So for example, let's see, there is this one, it's 22%. So basically, as an indexer, if we choose this subgraph, will be very profitable. But at the same time, what we see here is the current allocation amongst all the indexers. So let's say that now an indexer will put 1 million GRT. So this APY will decrease dramatically, and I don't know, probably will become like half or even less. So this is just to show that each subgraph is bringing its own APY, but it's also very much variable because, for example, I say this one is 22%, but it has only this subgraph, this GRT allocated. For example, if I sort by allocation, let's see, for example, like these are the biggest subgraph, like audios, for example, 85 million GRT, and it's giving this APR. So this is like a stable subgraph. So because, for example, here, if something will be allocated more or removed, it won't change a lot because, it's such a huge allocation. So for example, some indexers are choosing, the most stable subgraph to give a steady APY. So basically, I wanted just to show this dashboard to see how it's working behind the scene and why, this APY that we see here is so much. It can be variable. So basically, looking for just one huge is not like choosing an indexer with a huge APY is not like the best probably strategy. So overall, this is the trend that all the main indexers are following. So going back to the guide, so there are a lot of, plenty of resources. And also, if you want to really look for, your return of your, let's say, investment of GRT, you can see that there are tools like GraphScan that offer also 60-day historical API return. So if you want to have like a better, understanding of how an indexer is giving, how many rewards it's giving you. And also going back, so it's very important to look for community feedback. So our community, like the Graphronauts, is here basically to serve all the people in the community. And you can reach Graphronauts on our app on graphronauts.com, where you can also track your rewards and also reach to our social channel where we are active on Telegram, on Twitter, Discord, Reddit, YouTube, also on our blogs, our Medium blogs that is also translated in several languages. Here you can see we have, for example, articles in Chinese, French, Korean, Arab, Portuguese, almost the major languages. So one important step for your journey is also to look for a community like Graphronauts, or also other community. You can go, of course, on the official Graph Telegram or the official Graph Discord server. And another one is also Graph Academy, where you can find basically a lot of courses. Also, there are like courses for delegator, curation, even for subgraph development. So you can find a lot of information on this community. And also another channel where you can find information about your indexer if you want to get in contact with them. There is also an important section in the official forum from the Graph. The section is Know Your Indexer. So basically you can find on the public forum, okay, here is under the Graph public forum. So Know Your Indexer, you will see basically interviews with people that are running the indexer and providing answers to question, way to contact them. There is a cadence almost one per month, and there are already probably the most active indexers in the community. And yeah, probably this is all about everything to know about the delegating in your journey. That's also the last step, is the process of moving to L2. It's something that is requested, and a lot of people are looking forward. Of course, nothing will change in terms of 28 days to delegate and delegate, but to move to L2, there will be soon a transfer tool currently under testing. So in this case, to move your stake from Ethereum to Arbitrum will be without the 28 days. So this tool will be able to, with the tool, you will be able to bridge your GRT tokens from Ethereum to Arbitrum. And so this probably will be available in a couple of weeks, so still under testing, but it's already available on the testnet. If you want to go on Graph Explorer on the testnet, so you can already play with the transfer tool and try to see and move your GRT. You can also request some GRT from the faucet in Discord, so if you want to try and make some testing. So this is about the delegation and our article. So if someone has a question.
I would just like to add that I thought it was really cool that a lot of the more complex steps in the process are shown by having pictures there. So especially for people that are very new into the Graph ecosystem and want to start delegating, I think it's a perfect guide. So if you guys have anybody that's asking to start delegating, make sure you share this guide with them. I believe we shared the link in the chat already, and of course, you know where to find Graphtronauts. So if you have any more questions or somebody else has, make sure you send them over to the Graphtronauts, and they will be able to help them out. So thank you, Paulo.
Yeah, my pleasure.
In the last two segments, we're going to shine a spotlight on two regions that have seen fast growth in the number of graph advocates and in the number of advocate contributions. The first is India. There are currently 62 graph advocates from India contributing in all of the graph advocate roles. And we have seen many, many contributions, especially in the text translator role and in the event evangelist role. And we're going to zoom into the event evangelist role now. Graph Advocates DAO recently had a sponsorship, or I should say a community grant, for the India Blockchain Tour, along with other big projects like NEAR, BitGet, and many others. It was a 6 day Web3 tour around India, or 6 events, I should say. And we had a multitude of graph advocates attend the events and speak about the graph. One of them was graph advocate Shruti, who is sharing her screen right now. So if you guys could click over there, we could give you a small overview of the events in the India blockchain tour. And we're also sharing a link with the official site in the chat. For, for me, the stream is not loading, but I'm not sure if it's just me.
Yeah, is it up?
I think it is now. Can anybody else confirm? Oh, yeah, here we go. I can see it now.
All right.
Amazing. Other people too. I'll do the introduction and then you could take over. So we had the India blockchain tour and we did it in 6 major cities. On 5 of the major cities, we had graph advocates join. The first one, because it was just after we accepted the community grant, we didn't have time to send a graph advocate there. So I did the presentation for Delhi online, introduction about the graph and the graph advocates program. And then on the second one, Mumbai, we had graph advocates Omika and Gulshan attend the event and speak about the graph and the graph advocates program. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a better picture, but we see an overview of how the event looked here. I believe this is graph advocate Gulshan giving the presentation. And then the next one was in Hyderabad, and Shruti was there, so she's going to tell you about it.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Shruti. First off, thank you, Kalson. Thank you to the Octaloop team. They've been amazing throughout. I've done it in both Hyderabad and Chennai. So for the Hyderabad event, there were a lot of students, there were a lot of college students, and there were a lot of newbies who were very new to the Web3 space. And right in front of me, I could see close to 7 people applying for the Graph Advocates DAO, so that was really amazing. And post the event, I've received a lot of messages on LinkedIn, on Twitter, asking if I can do another session where they can know more about Graph. So that's when I did another session the following week, Connect event. So at least with respect to Hyderabad, the community has grown, it has evolved, and the audience were amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much about the Hyderabad event.
Yeah, amazing. Then we had two more. One was in Bangalore, where graph advocates Omika and Sudeep attended and spoke at the event. And then we also had one more in Kolkata, where graph advocates Agrim and Manish spoke at the event and gave everybody an introduction about the graph and the graph advocates DAO. And then I'm going to pass it back to Shruti again for Chennai, the last one.
Yeah, for Chennai, there were a lot of people who were in the tech. Everyone had their own startups. A lot of them were into trading and stuff. But I think a majority of them got an idea of how Graph functions, how the Advocates DAO functions. So that part was really nice. It was a very knowledge intriguing session for us as well. And here, there were close to 3 to 4 people who've registered for the Advocates DAO. And yeah, and I'm very happy with how the Graph India community is building. We've become very strong. We've shown presence in pretty much every event in India, so that's really nice about the advocates down here.
Thank you so much. That was really good. So, what is next for the Graph India? I was gonna mention something, but I see that Charchit is here as well. So I'm not sure if he has any updates. He's kind of running the Graph India there, so don't want to steal his shine.
So the India blockchain tool was before the establishment of the Graph India. Basically, like we are working on a grant. So within next week or next 2 or 3 weeks, we would be going into Delhi and Ahmedabad. Then slowly we would like take the example of Delhi and Ahmedabad to other cities of India as well. So, but for this, like all the credit goes to Shruti, Agrim, and our other graph advocates. Like all the credit. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, and I must say the organizers of this event who got the community grant from Advocates Now were super professional and helped out all of the graph advocates at the event as well. Something that is really cool too is that there is a India build tour being conducted by Push Protocol, and the graph is sponsoring that in some prize money for them. So I believe it's more than 10 events that are going on all over India in the upcoming time. So I just want to add that there as well. And then we're going to go to the last segment. So thank you, Shruti and Charchit. The last one is going to be really cool, but I hope he has enough time. Let me introduce Charles real quick. So the last region that I'm going to shine a spotlight on is Nigeria. There are currently 49 graph advocates from Nigeria doing a lot of contributions in the content creator and the event evangelist role. And one of the advocates that is creating exemplary contributions in Nigeria is Charles Freeborn. We have been very impressed by Charles's professionalism, enthusiasm, and drive to teach the others about the graph and Web3. And I would like to give Charles a platform to showcase what he's been doing as a graph advocate. So, Charles, the floor is yours.
Hi, Hossein. Thanks a lot. I Can you share my slide for me?
Yes, but give me 1 second. You shadowed with me in Discord, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll try to get it up fast.
All right. Hi everyone. Charles Freeborn here from Warri, Nigeria. I'm holding on for Hossein to share my slide. I joined the Graph Advocates program in November of 2022. So just give a little bit about myself. I joined the Graph Advocate program in 2022, November 2022 precisely. All right, I can see it now. Okay, perfect. And one of the reasons why I joined the program was because of my excitement about what Web3 is actually all about, the philosophy behind Web3, decentralization, permissionless, trustless, and token economics, right? And I was really, really driven by the vision or the mission statement of the Graph protocol, sorry, the Graph Advocates Program, which is greater participation in building a decentralized Web3 and getting to grow the graph ecosystem by supporting community-based initiatives and through contribution. So I've been involved in community building for the past 5 years of my life. I started the Google Developers community in my local city, and I grew the community to over 1,000 active members. And when I transitioned fully into the Web3 space, I decided to bring in the same expertise and the experience that I have in getting to great community into the Graph Advocates program, right? And so what you have there is basically, so on that slide, you see that I've grown the graph ecosystem through active community participation. I am very, very much passionate about community. I also get to organize in-person workshops. Um, and one of the reason why I actually had to do in-person workshops was because I started a Web3 focused community. And getting to start a Web3 focused community and knowing that most members of my communities come from a Web2 background, it was only proper that we have to actually host in-person workshops. And with the tremendous support of the Graph DAO, we've been able to host 3 workshops. And we already have we have plans to actually, we've already started the preparations on getting to host a hackathon. So the first 3 workshops, basically, the first one was on introduction to Web3 and the graph. And then we had another workshop on getting to build subgraph. And then we had another section on actually getting to, like a code lab on actually getting to build subgraph. Okay, so I think costing is a little bit okay. So basically, that's what you have right there on your screen is our code lab session, and we've had the tremendous opportunity of having Chuduben join us in person to facilitate this workshop. So on this slide currently, what you're seeing on your screen is Chidubem getting to walk through most of the attendees. This particular for this particular workshop, it was a code lab. All attendees were actually asked to come in with their laptops, and then it was quite an exciting one. And thank God that we had Chiruben in person who was able to help guide attendees into getting to walk through the process of going through the graph docs and getting to build their first subgraph. I think you can go to the next slide, Cousin. For time. All right. So beyond so basically what are the lessons that I've learned beyond getting to organize meetups, workshops, and hackathons? One of the things that I've actually got to learn, one of the things that I've actually done in getting to contribute effectively as an event evangelist is I I get to look out for Web3 focused meetups or events happening within the region, within Nigeria and my local community. And then I reach out to the organizers of this event. Sometimes I have to send in a speaking proposal if there's a call for proposal, if there's a call for proposals. So I send out, I apply to actually speak at these events. And I also get to support the graph at booths like I did getting to speak at. So if the graph, for example, is sponsoring an event and I get to know that the graph is going to be one of the sponsors of an event, I also take those opportunities to actually get to talk about the graph and then the graph advocates program like I did at Blockchain UNN that had over 1,000 attendees. Okay, yes. So right there, you see that I was talking to I was at the Graph booths after speaking at Blockchain UN, and I attended to over 100 undergraduate students that were actually interested in the graph after getting to hear me talk about the graph. You can go to the next slide. Um, Here you see me speaking at a Polygon event. I was invited as a speaker to speak at a Polygon event that held in my local city, Warri, Nigeria. And I also used the opportunity to actually talk about the graph and then the graph advocates program. So basically what I do as an event evangelist is just getting to ensure that I take the gospel of the graph to as many community events that I have the opportunity of getting to speak at, whether I'm being sponsored or not. Or not, like for this one at Polygon. So okay, so this is also the Polygon event. I think you go to the next slide since we're probably kind of short of time. And there's something else. Okay, so besides the fact that I have the opportunity of getting to speak at events, I've also taken advantage of the fact that if I don't have an opportunity to speak at events, I could go there as an attendee, and then I could also use my voice to as an attendee to actually push our project forward. You can see here on this slide, I attended the ETH Global meetup that held in Lagos, Nigeria between the end of July and the early days of August. And you could see here that I was the only one for this event that had over 400 attendees who actually took up the task of getting to actually give live reports on what was actually going on at the conference. And this caught the attention of the ETH Global team. And earlier today, the ETH Global team posted an article about the uh, coming into Africa. They visited two cities in Africa, Nairobi in Kenya, and then Lagos, Nigeria. And the team finally gave me the honorary brag of saying that I happen to be the Twitter champion. So even if you're an event evangelist, for example, and you're not speaking at an event, you could take one or two lessons from this and probably just share live updates on what is actually happening and then plug in what we are doing at the graph. Just getting to see that, for example, the graph, the ETH Global Twitter handle has over 69,000 followers. And the fact that we were able to get their attention and then we plug in what the graph is doing as part of the tweet actually gives a lot of more like indirectly, we're basically doing indirect marketing and then helping to help push the graph forward. Of course, in next slide, All right, so going forward, beyond organizing meetups and speaking at events, one of the things that I would want to recommend going forward is that, okay, so more like my recommendations, like I'm actually pumped about this, super excited about the event evangelism role because community is at the heart of what I do. Recommendations, there's ETH Accra happening, that's in Ghana. That's the hackathon happening in Accra, Ghana. Then there's Eat Safari, which is happening in Nairobi. And this happens to be probably the largest, going to be one of the largest one of the largest Web3 events that will be happening across the African continent. And then we could also leverage events like DevFest. Cousin, you can go to the next slide so I could share something quickly. All right, so this is uh this is a view of what the DevFest events that are going to be happening across the world. So let's say, for example, I don't have the ability to go around all the continent. The resources is not even available. So perhaps you're on this call and you are the Graph Advocate member and you are passionate about event evangelism. You can take a look at this map and then you could reach out to any of the GDG organizers that will be hosting their first events. So, for example, in Nigeria, as you can see here, there are over 100 Dev Fest events that will be happening. And I think these are some of the tremendous opportunities that we have to actually get to advocate for the graph and getting to push the graph forward and even getting to help onboard Web 2 developers into the Web 3 space. Cousin, next slide. Okay. All right. So this is my humble brag. My in numbers, I've hosted 3 workshops already. I have a hackathon planned. We're waiting for Chidubem actually to come in, and then we sort out the details. I've hosted 3 workshops. I've spoken at the blockchain UNN event. I had over 1,000 attendees. This was sponsored by the Graph. The Graph was one of the sponsors of this event. I've spoken at blockchain Polygon Gate. So in summary, I've had at least 6 on-site speaking engagements and getting to do 2 online events. For the future, all right, so I think I'll have to also plug this in that okay, I already talked about that. We have the graph hackathon happening in my city, which I'm excited about. There's It's Safari, there's It's Accra, and then there's Dev Fest Worry happening. And then all right, okay, so this is the last one. So this is more like my shameless plug. Early this year, I started a community, a Web3 focused community called Web3 Worry. And we started early this year, and I'm excited to share that today I've brought the community to over 80 members already, and we applied to be a part of the Gitcoin program. And excited to also share today that we got approval from the Gitcoin grant community. So more like an opportunity for us is an opportunity that is given to us to actually help push Web3 forward through community focused and educational based community initiative. So, with your express permission, I can share this here. Just a second. Uh, so, I think that's more like basically the updates from me. I think we're ready. Um,
Cool. Yeah, the last
So
slide
with
has a
Esther's
question.
permission,
So, oh, sorry.
I just shared the link to our page on Gitcoin, and I'll call on every member of the community to actually support the Web3 Worry project on Gitcoin. Even if it's just whatever it is you can use in supporting us. So the link, I just dropped the link on Gitcoin. And last but not the least, tomorrow is my birthday. So thank you everyone for the opportunity. Super excited about and really, really grateful to the DAO for the tremendous opportunities they've given to me in getting to advocate for the graph and amazing things. Thank you very much. Oh, it's tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much, Charles.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And already happy birthday for tomorrow. Happy birthday in advance, indeed. Amazing. Those were all of our segments. Before we end this, I would like to give a shout out to some graph advocates that have also been doing an amazing job but did not have a segment today. So I would like to give a shout out to Josh for his amazing contributions in the event evangelist and the content creator contributions, and to MD Aman for his technical teacher and content creator contributions. Before we conclude today's community talk, I want to remind you that there is an upcoming Indexer office hours today at 6 p.m. UTC. And also, don't forget to check the monthly core developer updates on the forum. Thank you so much for joining this fantastic episode of Community Talk. We will now open up the floor for Q&A. And if you have no further questions, I wish you a great day and I hope to see you again next month. So thank you, everyone. Are there any questions for now? Amazing. I don't see any questions in the chat and I don't hear anything. So let's end it. Thanks, everyone, and see you guys next month. Bye bye.